Hi guys, so my name's Alice. I'm joined here by Ash, and we've decided to film this discussion today because at Food Fight we are a group of collaborators and creatives who are all over the world. So actually Ash and I are both in the UK, but we work a lot with people in the US and even India and other places. And everyone has got a lot of really niche specialist skill set, and we've started doing like a knowledge share at the agency, which I think would be really cool for us to share with our audience as well. And I think the reason it's particularly interesting is because a lot of us are self-taught. And I know that you are, Ash, and it would be really interesting to hear about how that's changed your perspective and like where you are now.
I definitely resonate and gravitate to people that are self-taught because it takes a whole lot of discipline that in terms of discipline, like you either have it or you don't. And if you don't have it, it's tough to like teach yourself unless you love it a lot. And then it kind of feels natural and normal. But back in the day when I was looking for an animation and creative role, I just thought I had to go to university because I come from old school parents, and when I was younger, they drilled it in my head that, Ashley, you have to go to university and make sure you get this degree and all that kind of stuff. Old school Jamaican parents, as you can tell.
Jamaican, very nice.
Yeah. And, that was just my way of thinking. I thought if I go to university and get a degree, everything's going to be fine when I come out the other side. I went into university wanting to do music, but there was a part of me that thought I don't want to kind of trap myself in that. I want to go for something that's neutral. So I did business management and then graduated. After graduating.
Okay, so you did go to uni?
I did go to university, yeah, but not to study animation. Yeah, so I did business management, graduated, didn't get a job. And I was living at my parents' house, basically not earning much money, working at like a coffee shop, Costa Coffee. Shout out to the coffee baristas out there. And all I wanted to do was animation at that point, and I just couldn't find any work until a friend of mine told me about Gary Vee. I started watching his stuff heavy, like literally every other day. He has this video called Overnight Success about how the perception on social media is that you kind of pop up out of nowhere, but because you popped up out of nowhere, you're just an overnight success. You just had one video that's hit, which sometimes happens, but there's a lot of things behind the scenes in a long process before you get to the point where you pop and get viral and, things like that. So I was watching his stuff and he tweeted one time and said, in order to get out there and get some notoriety, you should offer your services for free in exchange for being put on their platform to get exposure and publicity for yourself and your brand. So I took it upon myself to kind of say to him, yo, I'm an animator. I see you're not doing any cartoons. So to me, it's like, cool, I've got an opportunity here. Let me put myself out there. Say, yo, I'll do your cartoons for free in exchange for exposure. Just like you said. I didn't say that, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it took me a couple of times to actually get him to bite, maybe a few emails. And then after a while, his BDM messaged me back and said, hey, I love your persistence. We want to work with you. And I made a cartoon for one of his interviews that he did with James Altucher called about reframing entrepreneurship by the 1%. And that's where our boy JL saw me, saw my names at the end of the credits. And then he reached out to me and here we are 5 odd years later at Food Fight Studios, man. So for me, the conventional route wasn't the one. That's not to say it doesn't work, but I'm just trying to say to people out there that are trying to get into a creative role that there are other ways. If you go on the internet, you're disciplined and you're motivated, you will find something that works for you.
And I think interestingly now, portfolio for yourself is such an easy way to get discovered as well. So obviously you'd actually done some work for someone for free and that's how you got discovered. But if you don't have that opportunity, you could just start creating stuff and sharing it on Instagram, sharing it on YouTube, and sort of creating a portfolio just for the sake of demonstrating your skill set as well. That would be an interesting avenue of trying it, maybe.
Absolutely. Because when I was coming up, I didn't really have any clients to work with. So I was creating mock-up kind of marketing videos and explaining videos to show people what I could do if they were to align themselves with me or hire me kind of thing. So yeah, I think that was what I was trying to do, really.
Yeah, it's interesting that you did go to uni, but you did something really different, because I actually didn't go to uni, and I'm a big advocate for not going to university because I do social media and podcasting, and these are all such new skills that are changing all the time. Mics change all the time, the platforms, the algorithms change, that even if I had studied social media or audio or something, I feel like it changes so quickly anyway. But it's interesting because you did do kind of a degree that you probably still do maybe use. The business side of it, I think you probably do subconsciously use, because that's kind of something that wouldn't change maybe.
Yeah, but the thing is, with that degree, I didn't really learn what I've learned just kind of going out there and learning on the job, so to speak. You know, it was just more about, can you write this dissertation about the 3 P's of marketing, pricing,
Right,
and
okay.
you know what I'm talking about? I can't remember the other ones, but you know what I'm talking about, that kind of thing. So it didn't really teach me any real world skills. Experience taught me that, you know,
Yeah.
setting prices, you know, price psychology and setting prices for clients and how you go about doing that, marketing your brand online and things of that nature. It was just real life experience that taught me that kind of stuff.
So I don't know whether we've got anybody on the line, because we are doing this for our colleagues at Food Fight. And I don't know whether John has got any questions for you that he wanted to ask.
Of course. I always have a question that I can ask. If you get me a chance to jump up on stage, I will jump on stage. I didn't know that you didn't go to university, Alice.
No, I didn't. If I would have gone, I would have done drama or theatre, because I love theatre, or English literature, which actually a lot of my marketing friends did do. And I think I could just see at the time that it wasn't directly relevant to the job I was going to do. And so I could have done theatre, but I could have just also gone straight to work. So I started working in marketing at 18 years old. I was marketing assistant. And now, 10 years later, got my own business. So I think it was definitely the right route. And I think there's lots of people who could be on the same path as me, but it just takes slightly longer because I'm probably 3 years ahead because I didn't spend that time at uni.
We'll edit that out. Don't worry. Not your lovely conversation, because that was great. It's interesting because if you want to be social media, why the heck would you pay $40,000 or $10,000 to go to school at this point? We can actually just get some real life experience. And there's a saying, you can't teach a kid to ride a bike at a seminar. It's just, you can't teach. In my experience, the people that I've seen come out of uni with digital marketing stuff, they're not someone you want to trust with your money. In my experience with stuff, grinding.
I think that training is much better. So like if you have, like I offer training, and I think lots of companies do, where it's more like hands-on for the company of like how to do a social media strategy, and you're tailoring that to their specific goals, for example. Whereas when, like you were mentioning earlier, Ash, with the 3 Ps of business development or whatever.
Yeah.
What is it? Is it pricing mix, product mix? What's the 3rd P?
Yeah, pricing, product, promotion for sure. Yeah.
But it's theoretical, whereas when you can actually tailor it to what you're talking about, like especially with social media, you don't need to be on every single platform. You might just want to be on YouTube or just on Twitter or just on LinkedIn. And I think having that understanding is way more valuable than spending 3 years learning how to use Pinterest. You know, it's just, I think it's a bit of a con. I think if you're studying something like medicine, where the human anatomy of the body doesn't change, then fine. But if you're studying something like digital marketing, creative, it's all going to evolve in 3 years anyway.
Yeah, I had no clue. And what for both of you? Question for both of you: like, what is were your friends supportive of this stuff, or did you find new friends, or did your friends think you were crazy, or tell me about that?
I remember when I was doing small cartoons, people were just like, "Oh, you little cutie, rootsy cartoons." I didn't think it was anything that you could do professionally unless you were doing, you know, Disney, Pixar, DreamWorks type stuff. Again, getting a degree and going to those types of places to get an opportunity. But when I was doing my little side, funny little series things, taking a mickey out of my colleagues and university mates, no one really, they thought it was funny or whatever. They weren't unsupportive. I guess they just didn't believe it could go as far as it has gone now. You know, it could manifest to how it's doing bloody live performance, digital art stuff for Wyclef Jean and Choose Yourself for James Altucher and Proceed with Caution with Arsenal the Rebel and all that stuff. You know, they didn't really picture that from a small Microsoft Paint, Windows Movie Maker type little bitmap thing. I guess neither did I, to be honest with you. I just kept doing it, and it just was a manifestation of me being persistent. So
Alice, with you, when you had your friends that went off to, you say uni, you say college, whatever. I can't imagine a shirt. I used to wear a shirt that said college from whatever show that was, like that frat show. What the hell is it? You know what I'm talking about? Sharon, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
What is it? What's it called? What is that shirt?
Love that.
Animal House.
Animal House, right? So there's a famous thing that says college. I just can't see that same effect saying uni, right? It just says uni on
We do
it.
have
But
colleges, but universities are different.
are they better or they're what?
Universities more advanced, isn't it?
Yeah, they're seen as more advanced.
All right. So when your friends were going off to uni or college, like, was it
Yeah.
hard for you to not do that stuff, or was it were they supportive of it? They totally got the vision. Your parents, sister, all that stuff.
Both of my sisters did go and study. And so one of my sisters is like a garment technologist in the fashion industry. She's like a science degree, and she's now gone on to be really successful. And my other sister is a mental health professional. So she had to study because she's working in health. But I think because I've always been creative, I was always writing, I was always drawing. I've just always been a creative person. And as I said, I would have either done English literature or theatre. I think I was just aware that there wasn't going to be as much value for me. So I remember in a lot of my first jobs, it was also around the time that social media wasn't seen as important. It was kind of at the origin of social for business. So one of my first jobs was at a luxury tour operator. And I remember they gave me the social media because it was like nobody else wanted it. It was almost seen as the what's the word, like lesser, non-luxurious side of marketing. Like all the beautiful printed magazines was all given to the really senior people, which at the time was the most important because they were really expensive. And then I was running the Instagram and the Facebook account. And it was crazy because their audience was obscenely wealthy. It was like really expensive holidays, like £10,000 a night hotels and things. And within a year, we were the most successful luxury tour operator on social media. And suddenly everyone woke up and was like, oh, right, social media is really valuable. And so I went to a competitor, and that's sort of why my career took off. But it all came about because it was seen as the least important thing that nobody wanted. And I'd sit in marketing meetings and all the senior marketers would be like, I don't want to do the social media. So it just went to me. So I think it was like a mix of it being like good timing because there was this huge part of marketing that was just taking off. And so that worked out really well. Had it not been the case, maybe I wouldn't have been given something that turned out to be so potent.
Our good buddy Mark Schaefer, huge marketing thought leader, has a similar story where he had to get a expense approval to get an AOL account for his business. So he was like one of the first guys that like, hey, this internet thing could be kind of cool. He worked for a multi-billion-dollar company, and they were like, he had to get it approved, and it didn't get approved right away, I think. But he had to like kind of not fight for it, but ask for it again. So when they gave him that AOL account, and then when eventually the company started to catch up and they needed to figure out the internet and websites, there was only one dude in that whole billion-dollar company that had experience in that stuff. So they called him, and it set off this crazy career for him, which is, you know, similar for your stuff. You've been a big help with our social media as well. So very, very cool.
Speaking of Schaefer, didn't he write about this experience that Asher had in this persistence play that you did?
Great call. Yeah, the tower. Do you say Tao or Dow, or how the hell do you say it? Teo?
I used to say Teo, for goodness sake. So
yeah,
it can't get worse than that.
I think it's Dow, but the
Dow.
Do you know what it is, Sharon?
Yeah, the Tao of Twitter.
The Tao. I think it's really the Dow, but let's call it Tao. The Tao of Twitter, like the #1 selling book on Twitter. I don't think I have it in my back, but Asher's written about this experience of specifically what you were telling there, man. You're actually in the best-selling book of all time on Twitter.
Yeah, man. It was how did you send it to me in like a like a box with the laptop, and there was a book in there as well, and I was like, what the hell is, oh snap. And it was like saved on the page where I was written on, and it was like, oh god, it's my story in a book. It was quite a surreal experience.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that stuff. It tells you like I'm thoughtful, right? Tell my wife that, because I don't get gifts like that stuff for like Valentine's Day and things like that. Like I basically got you a better gift than I do for birthdays and shit. But everybody writes a book about themselves these days, or their expertise these days, which you should. But it's badass when they're actually writing about you. So there you go.
Yeah.
Which is part of my question. It worked out, you know, your persistence worked out, but at the time, you know, how did you decipher the line between persistence or pest? You know, in the example of you wanted to go after this, you knew that you had something with your creative and the exploration that you were going down with animation and animation content. So how did you persevere, you know, and have that persistence versus feeling like you were being a pest?
But my persistence is down to just my situation. I was in a waitering job, not to put anything down on waitering jobs, but it's just a job I didn't want to be in. It was just a stepping stone. It was the biggest stepping stone. Everybody would come in to work and I would show them my animations, and I always say the same thing. This is what I do on the side of this work. This is just a stepping stone, but one day I'm going to be an animator. But I kept saying that over the years, and I was just getting sick and tired of saying the same old thing over and over again. So when I was going after Gary Vee's attention, that was always ringing in the back of my mind. It's like, remember, this stepping stone you're trying to get off, you're this close to getting off of it. But obviously be persistent, but don't be a pest. I only emailed him twice. There must have been so many other people that responded to that post besides me. So I had to make sure I stood out.
And to your point, dude, to me, it's a natural feeling, right? We all have that feeling that you haven't made it yet, right? But the reality is that the moment you put pen to paper or pixel to pixel, you are an animator, right? So there's no stepping stones. You are creating your own animated resume, your own stories, your own skits. Anybody that's doing that now is an animator. Anybody that wants to become an animator, just start now. Literally, you could become an animator tonight or tomorrow, whenever the hell you're watching this stuff. So I think that's a big, big difference.
Yeah. And it's keeping that kind of mental, because I know everyone's talking about, mental health at the moment and stuff like that. Not to say I suffered or anything, or, my heart goes out to anybody that does. I never have. But like, there are huge elements of doubt when you're going down a route that isn't considered to be a conventional route, because it's quite a lonely place when everyone is going to university, getting their degrees and falling into jobs straight away. I hate that saying as well. You ever ask somebody how they got a job when they say, "Oh, I just fell into it"? How do you fall into a job? Please write a book, because at that time I was like, I really want to trip full headfirst into a job. It's not working for me. So I don't know how you're doing it. It was just tough. It was just tough. And I just had to keep reminding myself, like, just because you haven't been hired by these people, everything happens for a reason. Everything doesn't happen for a reason. Maybe the universe is waiting to, propel you into something that's bigger. And it was, I just couldn't see it. It's just hard to see that when you're constantly being told no, and you're looking at yourself, what is wrong with me? What's wrong with my skills? Am I not good enough? Am I not this? Am I not that? Because if you look through half of the job specifications for agencies and stuff like that, they always say the same thing. We are looking for someone motivated. We are looking for someone driven. We are looking for someone with, discipline, self-discipline, who can think on their own 2 feet, that loves what they do. And you're looking through these things and you're thinking, I am every single one of those things. So what is the issue here? What's the issue here? And if you're looking for experience, you're offering experience. And I'm saying, I will work for free in your studio to get experience. You are getting free labor. And still the answer is no. And it's like, where's the disconnect here? Where's the disconnect? So you always need small things to kind of remind you that you are good enough. Like, for example, it may seem silly right now, but I wear this hat called King, right? Because once upon a time, I didn't feel like one. I felt like a waste of space. I'm an animator masquerading as a waiter, and I'm not where I want to be. I even have things on my wall to remind me, even nowadays, when we all have down days. Like, I have things in the background, Wycliffe Jean, the Life of the Apollo, Living with the Monks, Proceed with Caution, Choose Yourself. Even the first ever text that James Altucher sent to me on Twitter, I have in front of me as a way to remind me that once upon a time, I was working my ass off, and this is why I'm doing this right now. This is why I'm doing this right now. And it's manifested into all of this.
I love that you remind yourself of like the journey that you've been on.
Yeah, you don't always have people around you, because I'm not sure about you guys, but I don't really have many people around me that understand what we do as a company. Like, each individual here is in this brand that was created from, like, dreams, like we didn't walk into a job center and queue up for hours and get this. Do you know what I mean? It came from people's hard work. And it's weird to some people. They just don't get it. I can't talk to my mum about this. I can't talk to my sister about this. They just come from, they're just completely different people, different mentality.
I think that's the same with my family, because they're all quite traditional, and a lot of them are teachers or they work in healthcare. Both my grandparents were doctors. And so they have all these very traditional jobs that just by saying their job title, what they do. Whereas my jobs that probably only existed for like 5 years or 6 years. And so people just don't understand what it is that I do. So yeah, I totally resonate with that, for sure.
Yeah.
I like surrounding myself by the people who didn't fall into the job, or fall into the instant success and everything, because it's the people and your experience that you're sharing right now of how did you take something that you were passionate about and make it so that now it is living proof of that you're self-taught, you took an approach, you were persistent about it, and you've led that for your life. And then now that's how Food Fight is built. Getting a call. This is how Food Fight is built, based on that similar like-mindedness, that we're all going after that, that persistence and that continuing to educate ourselves on what is it that we need to do for ourselves, for this business, for the people that we are working with too, because it is that collaboration that isn't really taught. It is a skill set that we have to have as individuals for ourselves, but for each other, and there's an expression of like, show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. And that's why we are together and working towards this. And part of that is you've set the standard, in how to do this and how to take something that you're passionate about, make it so, and enable that across all entities of our business, through, even though it's specifically in execution, in animation, in practice, it's for all of us.
Yeah.
I used to have a friend that Hells Angels, but I'm a good guy. You wouldn't think so, right? So, and I'm glad that I didn't interrupt the flow with it. But I noticed, Alice, that you said this is how you remind me, and I'm like, and I just remembered the time of that you when we were on a video chat and you accidentally pressed the button too late to shut your music off, and I think it was Nickelback. So you're like quoting Nickelback in here. Which
my finest hour, not my finest hour. But yeah, I do still listen to Nickelback occasionally. My musical taste is probably not what you would expect, for sure.
Show me what the playlist is, and I'll tell you the type of person it is. Right? I guess sharing to your stuff.
It's like, show me your friends and I'll tell you who I am. We should do that as a team quiz. Guess whose playlist this is?
I like that team game.
That's cool.
If I ever host a team game, that's going to be.
You should do it.
Friday. We need
one.
But everyone will send like their best playlist. They won't be accidentally slipping Nickelback in there.
No, but I think
making sure that it's like
you could incentivize the one that gets the most votes plus the one that votes the most, or something like that. So you could incentivize where they're telling, something like that. I don't know. It's your game. You figure it out. But I think that's what's happening Friday. We got to do it. So
Nickelback did come up in another team game.
Yep.
It was a dad joke.
It was a dad joke.
Oh yeah. 50 Cent, but Nickelback or something like that. LP.
Yeah. So cool. Well, good stuff, man. Asher, super inspirational for all of us. That story is amazing. Definitely can help other people. Alice, I didn't know all that stuff. Because you're so well put together. I just thought you had like 3 uni degrees and know so much stuff.
It's so funny. I think it might have even been you that I was telling, John, because I used to live in Oxford. People often assume that I went to Oxford Uni, which is obviously like one of the most prestigious in the world.
Yeah,
and I'm like, no, I didn't go to uni at all.
Yeah. No,
I just lived in Oxford.
The same dude that was in that Hell's Angels would wear like a Harvard shirt and go to like pick up chicks in Boston, or try to. So that's how it goes. So it is what it is. Now he's wearing a Hell's Angels jacket. I don't talk to him anymore, so we're good, right? Good. I have alibis. I'm on the live stream as we speak. So, all right, cool. Anything else you guys want to impart? And I'll step out of the way.
No, I don't think so. How do you want to wrap it up?
Just like this. Just wait until the awkward moment to see, like, all right, we're stopped, and see if it's going.